June 23, 1955. Illinois Gordon, Bumpy Johnson's closest friend for 20 years, was found dead in an alley behind Small's Paradise. By sunrise, 7 men had paid the ultimate price for that betrayal. This isn't just a story of revenge. This is the story of methodical justice served with surgical precision. One night when Bumpy Johnson proved that loyalty has a price and betrayal has consequences, when the sun rose over Harlem on June 24th, the criminal underworld had learned a lesson that would echo for decades. You don't touch Bumpy Johnson's family. To understand why June 23, 1955 became the deadliest night in Harlem's criminal history, you need to understand who Illinois Gordon was to Bumpy Johnson. They'd met in 1935, 2 young men trying to survive the Great Depression through intelligence instead of desperation. Illinois was from Chicago, Bumpy from South Carolina, but both understood that in a world that offered black men few legitimate opportunities, you created your own. Illinois Gordon wasn't just smart, he was brilliant. He could calculate odds in his head faster than most people could with pencils and paper. He could read people's intentions from their body language. Most importantly, he could plan operations 3 steps ahead of everyone else, including law enforcement. It was Illinois who designed Bumpy's numbers operation to be mathematically unbeatable. Illinois who'd negotiated the territorial agreements with the Italian families. Illinois who'd created the defensive strategies that had kept Bumpy alive through 2 decades of criminal warfare. For 20 years, they'd been partners. Illinois was Bumpy's strategist, his closest advisor, the man who helped plan every major operation from the Dutch Schultz Wars to the Lusano negotiations. More than a business partner, Illinois was the brother Bumpy had chosen, the family he'd built in a world that tried to destroy black men's families. That's why his murder wasn't just a crime. It was a declaration of war against everything Bumpy Johnson stood for. Illinois Gordon had been found with 3 bullet wounds and a message pinned to his coat, compliments of the 7 Families Alliance. It was a new coalition of small-time criminals who decided that Bumpy Johnson's independence had gone on too long. The 7 Families Alliance had been forming for months, meeting in secret locations throughout Harlem, plotting to divide Bumpy's territory among themselves. They'd studied his operation, identified his key associates, and decided that killing Illinois Gordon would demonstrate their serious intentions while removing Bumpy's most valuable strategist. Led by Marcus the Butcher Williams, the 7 Families Alliance included every significant criminal in Harlem who wasn't part of Bumpy's organization. 7 men who controlled different pieces of the neighborhood's illegal economy: numbers running, loan sharking, protection services, illegal gambling. Marcus Williams had earned his nickname through 15 years of increasingly violent criminal activity. Samuel Martinez controlled the East Side numbers racket through intimidation and brutality. Raymond Big Ray Thompson's protection services were really extortion schemes that targeted working families who couldn't afford to pay. Their plan was simple: kill Illinois Gordon as a warning, then demand that Bumpy Johnson pay tribute to their alliance or face the same fate. They'd calculated that even Bumpy Johnson couldn't fight 7 different organizations simultaneously. They'd calculated wrong. When Bumpy Johnson learned of Illinois Gordon's death at 11:47 p.m. on June 23rd, he didn't rage, he didn't threaten, he didn't call for immediate retaliation. Instead, he went to his apartment on 145th Street and opened a custom-built gun cabinet that contained 12 different firearms. Each weapon had been acquired for a specific purpose. Each had its own unique capability. Each told a story about Bumpy's understanding of power, precision, and justice. Tonight, Bumpy was going to demonstrate all 12. The collection had taken years to assemble. The precision rifle was a gift from a grateful World War II veteran whose family Bumpy had protected from loan sharks. The silenced pistol had been acquired from a federal agent who'd accepted Bumpy's money instead of his arrest warrant. The shotgun was a custom piece crafted by the finest gunsmith in Brooklyn, paid for with money from Bumpy's first major numbers victory. Each weapon represented not just a tool, but a relationship, a story, a moment when Bumpy had invested in his future capability to protect what mattered to him. The derringer had belonged to his mentor, the old numbers king, who'd taught him the business. The revolver had been carried by Texas Red, taken after their final confrontation in 1921. But these weren't just tools of violence, they were instruments of communication. Each weapon would send a specific message to the criminal community about the consequences of betraying Bumpy Johnson's trust. The plan he'd developed in the 2 hours since learning of Illinois' death was both simple and sophisticated. 7 men had killed his closest friend. 7 men would face justice before sunrise, but each would face it in a way that sent a specific message to the criminal community. This wasn't going to be a massacre. It was going to be an education. The operation began at midnight with surveillance and preparation. Bumpy had spent 20 years building an intelligence network throughout Harlem. Within an hour, he knew exactly where each member of the 7 Families Alliance would be that night, their schedules, their security, their vulnerabilities. Target 1 was Marcus the Butcher Williams himself, leader of the 7 Families Alliance. At 12:30 a.m., Williams was found in his office above Willie's Pool Hall, eliminated with a single shot from Bumpy's precision rifle. The shot came from a building 3 blocks away, demonstrating that distance was no protection from Bumpy's reach. The message was clear: leadership has responsibilities. Target 2 was Samuel Martinez, who controlled the numbers racket on the east side. At 1:15 a.m., Martinez was eliminated in his car outside his girlfriend's apartment, taken down by Bumpy's silenced pistol. The elimination was so quiet that his girlfriend didn't hear the shot from her 3rd-floor apartment. The message, business and pleasure, should remain separate. Target 3 was Raymond Big Ray Thompson, who ran protection services for local businesses. At 2 a.m., Thompson was eliminated while collecting his weekly payments from a corner grocery store, brought down by Bumpy's shotgun. The overwhelming force sent a message to everyone who preyed on working people: exploitation has consequences. By 3 a.m., 4 more members of the 7 Families Alliance had been eliminated, each with a different weapon, each death designed to communicate something specific about the consequences of betraying Bumpy Johnson's trust. Thomas Snake Washington, who ran illegal gambling operations, was eliminated with a derringer while cheating customers at his floating poker game. Joseph Iron Mike Rodriguez, who controlled loan sharking on the west side, was eliminated with a revolver while threatening a borrower's family. Antonio Little Tony Castellano, who ran protection for numbers runners, was eliminated with a carbine while shaking down one of his own operators. But this wasn't random violence. This was systematic justice delivered with surgical precision, each elimination planned and executed to demonstrate different aspects of Bumpy's power and philosophy. Each target had been chosen, not just for their role in Illinois Gordon's death, but for their impact on Harlem's community. These weren't just criminals who'd crossed Bumpy Johnson. These were predators who'd been exploiting the neighborhood's most vulnerable residents. The precision of the operation was what made it legendary. 7 different locations, 7 different methods, 7 different messages. No innocent bystanders were harmed. No collateral damage was inflicted. Just 7 men who declared war on Bumpy Johnson, learning the cost of that declaration. Between each elimination, Bumpy returned to his apartment, cleaned and stored the weapon he'd used, and selected the next instrument for the next target. It was a ritual that demonstrated his methodical approach to justice. This wasn't passionate revenge, it was calculated retribution. The final target was Vincent "Vinnie" Carbone, who'd planned the actual assassination of Illinois Gordon. Carbone was found at 4:45 a.m. in his social club on 132nd Street, eliminated with Bumpy's personal favorite, a .45 automatic that had belonged to Illinois Gordon himself. The symbolism was perfect. Illinois had delivered his own justice through Bumpy's hands. By 5:30 a.m., as dawn broke over Harlem, the 7 Families Alliance no longer existed. Every leader was gone. Every organization was leaderless. Every threat to Bumpy's independence had been eliminated. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of that night wasn't the elimination of 7 enemies. It was how quickly word spread through the criminal community. By 7 a.m., every criminal in New York knew exactly what had happened and why. The message was unmistakable. Loyalty to Bumpy Johnson was rewarded. Betrayal was answered with swift, precise, and final justice. The aftermath of June 23, 1955, changed the balance of power in Harlem permanently. No criminal organization ever again attempted to form an alliance against Bumpy Johnson. No one ever again made the mistake of targeting his associates as a way of pressuring him. The 12 weapons Bumpy used that night became legendary in criminal folklore. Each represented a different aspect of his power: precision, stealth, overwhelming force, psychological impact. Together, they demonstrated that Bumpy Johnson wasn't just a criminal. He was a strategist who could execute complex operations with military efficiency. Federal investigators who studied the case were struck by the operation's sophistication. 7 coordinated actions across a 5-hour period, each perfectly timed and executed, all without leaving evidence that could lead to prosecution. Subject demonstrated tactical planning and execution capabilities that suggest military or law enforcement training, read the FBI report. The precision and coordination of the operation indicates months of preparation and surveillance. The FBI investigation lasted 18 months and involved dozens of agents, but they could never build a prosecutable case. Witnesses disappeared or developed amnesia. Physical evidence vanished. Even the weapons themselves were never recovered. But for the people of Harlem, June 23, 1955, sent a different message. Bumpy Johnson protected those who were loyal to him. He didn't just control territory, he defended family. Illinois Gordon's funeral, 3 days later, was attended by over 2,000 people. Bumpy Johnson delivered the eulogy, speaking about loyalty, brotherhood, and the price of living by a code in a world that often rewarded betrayal. Illinois Gordon lived by principles, Bumpy told the assembled crowd. He believed that your word was your bond, that loyalty was sacred, and that family meant more than money. He died because he wouldn't betray those principles. The message was clear to everyone present. This is what we protect. This is what we defend. This is why betrayal has consequences. The 12 weapons Bumpy Johnson used on June 23, 1955, were never found by law enforcement. Like the man himself, they disappeared into Harlem's shadows, becoming part of the neighborhood's legend. Years later, other criminals would claim to possess one of Bumpy's 12 weapons, but these were always proven to be lies or wishful thinking. The real weapons, like the real story of that night, remained Bumpy's secret until his death in 1968. This is the story of one night when justice was served with 12 different instruments and 7 different lessons. A night when Bumpy Johnson proved that in his world, loyalty was rewarded and betrayal was answered with precision, planning, and permanent consequences. If this story of loyalty, justice, and methodical retribution moved you, hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who understands that some lines should never be crossed. And in the comments, let me know, was this justice or vengeance? Next week, we're revealing how this night changed the criminal landscape of New York forever. You won't want to miss that.